Nature is a very complicated matter, and sometimes it produces things of different shapes. There are times, however, where it produces things that are shaped what someone would call perfectly, such as creating an asteroid that is perfectly shaped like a spear, of which, due to the unlikely nature, some would call the work of a god. Although creating a perfectly shaped spear is possible in the third dimension, it is highly unlikely that it is a work of a god. But this video is not to rant about the likelihood of the existence of God, but rather to explain how this perfectly shaped spear is by no means perfect. You see, in nature, there are different dimensions. We humans can only perceive up to the third dimension, where there are a lot more dimensions in existence. For example, there is a fourth dimension that we see so often in movies such as Interstellar, which can be perceived as the diagram shown. Note that these illustrations of the fourth dimension is merely an assumption, and it is possible that it does not look like that in reality. In addition, this video will not go into detail on how dimensions beyond the third dimension is perceived. So, how does all this show that a perfectly shaped spear is by no means perfect? Well, when taking into account other dimensions, such as the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, and so on, the perfectly shaped spear in the third dimension could very well not be perfect in the fourth or fifth dimension. For example, for this spear in the fourth dimension, some of its sides, and sides being the general shape of the spear, could be dissimilar in shape compared to the rest of the body. Thus, it is imperfect in shape, therefore bringing to a conclusion that the spear is in fact not perfect in shape, since the sides is not identical in the fourth dimension, even though it is in the third dimension. Of course, if the spear was to have identical sides in the fourth dimension, it might not be so in the fifth dimension, and so on. And since this object is created by nature, it is most likely that it exists in multiple dimensions, not just in the third or fourth dimension. But of course, this is all up to speculation.